if you execute on 10 to 15 or even all 20 of those points, you will absolutely be better at recruiting solid salespeople, paying solid salespeople, and actually not having anywhere near the attrition that you have in your company. Try it out. I guarantee it works. I've done it multiple times before. So here's the thing. There's some really smart people on this thread, like a lot of really smart people on this thread, and there's some really smart comments on this thread as well. I'm going to approach this from a completely different perspective. What if we could change the numbers? What if we could actually change the percentages? Because in my world, in all the companies that I've built, I've had very different percentages than what you're listing here. I think the reason is a couple-fold, and I'd like you all to answer the question after I post this video. Number one, have you actually trained all of your managers and leadership team on how to do proper interviews, right? Like really train them, not like they've read one book or they've all done 20 or 30 interviews. Have you put them through training on how to do proper job interviews? Do they know how to select? Do they know how to look for behavioral traits? Do they know how to use the pregnant pause and open and close questions? Do they know how to use torque? Do they know how to do proper reference checks? Like, do they properly understand the group interview process? And do they really understand how to interview and select people to come into the sales roles? That's number one. Number two, do you have a really strong onboarding and training process, or do you merely throw people into the fire? And by a really strong onboarding and training process, I'm talking about a minimum 1 week, probably better 2 weeks, to truly integrate people into your culture, into the systems, into the processes, and then do you run ongoing training in sales as well? Most people will run sales training, but they miss on a lot of the product and the company and the culture side of things. And then they really throw people into the fire to see who will sink or who will swim. And then number three is, have you considered the negative impact on your brand, on your company culture, on the press that you get, on your Indeed and Glassdoor ratings? Have you considered that you're actually creating scorched earth around your company by allowing yourself to have so many salespeople fail when you have 20 or 30 or 40 or even 100% failure rate over salespeople over the course of 12 months? I think you can do better. In fact, I know you can do better because we've done better in the past in building out 1-800-GOT-JUNK, College Pro Painters, Gerber Auto Collision, and then even in coaching a lot of the really highly successful companies that I've coached 2 companies that went on to rank as number 1 to work for in Australia, 1 company is number 1 to work for in Florida, 1 that went on number work for in Cincinnati, 1 that went on to become number 2 to work for in the United States on Glassdoor. Same year, 1 went on to become number 12 to work for in the United States on Glassdoor. Another one that was number 1 to work for in British Columbia in the same year, a second company, it was number 2 to work for in British Columbia. All of these companies had salespeople with much, much lower percentage of CAC and percentage of failure rate on their salespeople. So I want you to really consider, what could you do differently? So here's the challenge I'm going to put in front of all of you, and I'd like you to try this out. What if you decided to set yourself a goal? And the goal was, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but run this as a kind of a 1-hour brainstorming session with your leadership team, because you all have smart people and smart teams. So get some coaches involved, consultants involved, whatever, but sit down and say, the goal is we're going to hire 10 people or 20 people in sales over the next 12 months. And we're not going to allow more than 20% of these people to fail. What are the 10 reasons why this is impossible? And come up with the 10 obstacles as to why that goal is crazy, why it can't happen, why Cameron is nuts, why that goal of hiring 10 or 20 people with a maximum of 20% failure rate is possible. Come up with 10 obstacles. After you come up with 10, and don't stop at 6, don't stop at 7, push yourself to come up with 10 reasons why that's impossible. And it might take you 20 minutes to come up with the 10 reasons, but come up with 10 reasons why it's impossible. Then go back to reason number 1 and come up with 2 things you can do to counter reason number 1, 2 things you can do to erase reason number 1, it can't happen. Come up with 2 things to erase reason number 2, and so on until you come up with 2 ways to get rid of each of the 10 things. You now have a 20-point plan, and if you execute on 10 to 15 or even all 20 of those points, you will absolutely be better at recruiting solid salespeople, paying solid salespeople, and actually not having anywhere near the attrition that you have in your company. Try it out. I guarantee it works. I've done it multiple times before. Don't allow yourself to have the excuses, and you need to stop saying to yourself, oh, I've got the expertise and I've done it this way, because there's lots of other ways to try things, and there's lots of other examples in the business world of people that have tried it. You know, if somebody said that you always need to have car dealerships as a way to grow a car company, Elon Musk would have never opened Tesla because he has no car dealerships. Sometimes we need to reinvent the way that we're doing things. We need to break the way that we're doing things, and we need to see it from a completely different perspective or paradigm than we're seeing it now. Try it out. 100% absolutely guarantee it'll work. So don't stop now. Click here. There's more great videos that you can keep learning from, and together we're unlocking amazing leadership lessons together.